November 6, 2019. May I have a roll call, please?
Give me just a second. Scott Cummings,
Present.
John Merlin,
Here.
Sylvia Oswald, Francis Reddington,
Present.
Jeff Truar,
Here.
and Dan Jansen.
Here. As far as ex parte communications, as I communicated prior to the last meeting, I did have a meeting prior to the submittal of the St. Paul's application.
I had a meeting with John Delaney yesterday at the site, and also there's another member of the church whose name I did not remember, who also was there. They obviously wanted to be in support.
I had an email from John Delaney and I refused to stand. I had an email from John Delaney that did not refuse to.
I have an email from John Delaney, no ex parte.
Thank you. Now I'd like to take a moment and recognize our new city attorney, Chris Ambrosio.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Welcome, Chris, to our meeting.
Hi, Chris.
May I have a motion for the approval of the Board of Adjustment meetings for September 17th, 2019?
I move to approve the minutes of September 17 and October 1st, 2019.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion's passed. Okay, now, first old business case, please.
Case number
That was both sets of minutes? Okay, thank you, sorry.
First case number BOA 19-100119, Albert Norman Captain at Monsky Stearns, property address 983 Second Street South, parcel ID 176119000, legal description, lot 7, block 92, Hollow Beach South, current zoning RN2, City of Jacksonville Beach Land Development Code Sections 34-340E3, C.1, for westerly corner side yard of 3 feet, in order to ratify nonconformities to an existing structure in an easterly side yard of 8 feet, in lieu of 10 feet required to allow for the addition to existing family property.
Have your name and address for record, please.
Kathy Stearns, 13812 Tortuga Point Drive, Jacksonville, Florida, 32225.
Thank you. Ready, Daniel?
Yes.
Sorry.
Can I have you raise your right hand, please? Please, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Please explain the hardship and what's your process, what we're trying to do here.
A hardship exists due to a non-conforming lot in a multifamily zoning. In regards to Jacksonville Beach zoning requirements, a multifamily lot must have a minimum lot width of 75 feet. So a hardship exists. The lot my property is on is only 50 feet wide. It is deemed non-conforming to the Jacksonville Beach zoning ordinances. I bought this existing property in 1995 in an as-is condition. At the time of my purchase, it was a store and 2 rental units in one structure. The structure was built in the 50s before zoning ordinances had been established. In the 24 years I've owned the property, I have greatly improved it and converted it into 3 units. Currently, it is a multifamily property with 3 units. I did away with the store. I was told I couldn't keep the store when I bought it.
I couldn't hear what you just said.
I said I did away with the store because I was told I couldn't keep the store when I purchased it. It was no longer zoned for a store. It was zoned multifamily when I purchased it.
So currently it's 3 units right now?
Yes.
Are you proposing to add unit 2 and 3? I'm just trying to, are you breaking out that from unit 1?
Yeah, what I'm doing is This is a conceptual plan whereby I would basically spread the units out. Instead of staying in the one existing unit, I would add on to the existing unit and have unit 2 and 3. So in the existing structure, I would have 1 unit. In the additional units I'm proposing, I would have unit 2 and 3. I'm not putting any more units in, I'm just making them bigger and better.
And to some extent, helping with the parking problem.
I am helping with the parking problem. Right now, everyone just kind of parks wherever. I'm going to establish 2 parking garages per each unit.
How many parking spots are you taking? Public.
The public,
Yes.
I won't be taking any at all.
And you referenced the word conceptual. That makes me a little nervous when I hear conceptual, because you say 2 parking spots, but the driveway width currently in that conceptual, and we're not, here for locker rooms as well, or no?
No.
Okay. I'm just trying to understand that 2 cars, how to get in across the yard.
Well, I said that word because I haven't hired an architect to do all the exact details. I've just had a contractor actually put the footprint down and make sure I would have enough space for the parking.
But the parking would have to be in the garages, because 10 feet will not fit a car without going into the sidewalk.
Yes, that's all, there's room for all of that.
Through the chair, the additional units will each have a 2-car garage.
Correct. That's why I was just saying, the driveways look like extended thing.
They'll have a 2-car garage, but if they park in the driveway, they're going to be all the way blocking the sidewalk.
Which will be an issue for our police department.
Well, there will be a 2-car garage in each unit, and it's, how am I saying this? I'm not counting the driveway there, I'm just counting what will be underneath the building.
I understand.
We appreciate your optimism.
Yes.
Yeah. We are confronted with reality, and people park in their garages and they get overloaded, but that's not your problem, that's ours.
I understand the parking problem, I've owned this property for 24 years, believe me,
So
I do understand it.
So we have an existing non-conforming property, and we're just basically continuing the non-conformities and making it with extending. That's just,
Through the chair, the non-conformities relative to the property now would be reduced by the fact that the parking would be provided for each of the 3 units. Those are all three of those units will have 2-car garages. Right now, there is no paved parking on the property, so that non-conformity would be reduced with the variance.
as soon as parking. Yeah. Okay.
I've got no questions.
Any more questions? From the board? Okay. We did have one reader card for it.
Well, I also asked some of my neighbors for their support, and they sent me emails. Unfortunately, it was all done this morning, so I wasn't able to get you all a copy for tonight, but here is,
You can submit that copy for our record, that's okay?
okay,
If you can give it to us.
all right, you want it now?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
There's one, this first case.
Okay, we have 1 card, and
If I could just add one thing, I'm asking for 2 things. I'm asking for the westerly existing setback. That building's been there for 70 years. It has stood just like that for 70 years. I just am asking that westerly side of the existing building be approved. If it's not approved, I'm at risk, because if there's any significant damage from a storm or hurricane, I may not have the choice to fix it back up. I may have to tear down the whole structure. So that presents a big risk for me, so I ask that you approve that. And the reason I'm asking for the 8-foot in lieu of 10 feet on the easterly side, and my neighbor's here to speak in support of that, is because I was approved before. The existing structure, again, built in the 50s, was 8 foot in lieu of 10 on the easterly side. If I do get to one day build this addition, I want to make sure there's a straight line down that easterly side, and I'm not held to building 10 feet into the setback of a new addition. Does that make sense?
Yes, that's,
Okay.
yeah, we
And that's all I have, and
No,
I
thank you.
really appreciate it.
clarity. So, you have one card?
Yes. Lisa Pitts.
Yep.
127 10th Avenue South, Jack Beach. I presume you're for this?
I am in support of this, yes.
Good name, matches the record.
My name is Lisa Fitz. I'm at 127 10th Avenue South, Jack's Beach.
So I can have you raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
Thank you. Please share your thoughts on this.
Oh, my thoughts on this, I am living right next door where the 8-foot setback is, so my fence and her fence share a lot line. And I am all in favor of upgrading the current property. It is an older property. It needs, she's also, I believe, going to cosmetically update the existing unit 1 and then propose 2. I mean, this is my first time really seeing this, but we did talk about it in depth, and the parking is nice that it does have extra parking in the garage, and I believe she's making those 1 or 2 bedroom or 3-2 spaces. So currently it's a triplex in unit 1, and I think she's just spreading that
Correct.
further west. She has a large yard. I mean, like from my
Currently,
visual, yeah.
Well, thank you for
Yeah.
appearing. Just a question, currently, where do they park? In front of the house and on the yard to the side? The
Correct, where
cars?
that 50-foot driveway is drawn in there, they
Yeah.
kind of park in the
They park
yard.
in the yard across that?
And then there's some parking on Second Street South, there is some public parking there, so they park there.
Great.
Which is not utilized, to be honest, that regularly, because it's a quiet side of Jack's Beach.
Mhm.
Yes.
Thank you.
That-
Seeing all the cards, I close it to the public and bring it to the board. Can you have a list of those? So we read it for the record. Who's in support? Just to read the record, we have emails from Lisa and Greg Phillips at 127 10th Avenue South, Jack's Beach in support. Vicki Chan of 510 4th Street South, Jack's Beach in support. Bobby Riggins on 130 10th Avenue South, Jack's Beach in support. Terry Bassett, 512 1st Street South, Jack's Beach in support. And David Gatto from 10th Avenue South, Jack's Beach in support.
Well, I think spreading out 3 units actually makes some sense, despite the fact that I don't believe they're actually going to park in the garage if she's met the requirement that we have to.
I agree with you, that's my concern.
Yeah, but we can't hold other people's negligence against her, so I think it's a reasonable request.
Realistically, the variance is for the existing structure, not for the units we put on the side. And with that, it's very understandable based upon when the building was put up and things like that. But as, just to ask Mr. Mann, as the city changes and that building someday may not longer be there, would that variance still be in place then for someone else if that building is removed for some reason, they still have the variance of the 3 feet and 8 feet?
Yes, sir, unless you wish to place a condition on the approval that it apply to the existing and proposed structures.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I like the fact that she's adding the parking spaces, that should alleviate some issues there.
Mhm.
I'd like to move that we approve BOA 100119 with the stipulation that it pertains only to the existing building and the 2 proposed buildings that we have discussed tonight.
I'll second that.
First and second, any further discussion? May I have a roll call, please?
Scott Cummings,
Yes.
John Moreland,
Yes.
Francis Reddington,
No.
Dan Jansen,
Yes.
Jeff Trular.
Yes, your motion has been approved. The next case, please.
POA 19-100144, applicant owner Diocese of St. Augustine Incorporated, agent Roger Towers, PA, property address 527 Pablo Avenue, parcel ID 1737885-0000, 17378600000, 174-11-000, and 174-012-000. All lots 7, 8, 12, and portions of 2, 3, 9, and 10, Block 16, Atlantic Park, current zoning C2. Motion to consider City of Jacksonville Beach Land Development Code Section 34-377 for 125 on-site parking spaces in lieu of 338 spaces required to allow for construction of a new sanctuary building.
That's it. Can we, applicant, please push?
Agent.
William Michaelis, Roger Towers.
Could you raise your right hand for me? Thank you. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Can we also get your address for the record?
Yes, 1301 River Place Boulevard, Suite 1500 in Jacksonville, Florida, 32207.
If I could save time for a second, this is the person whose name I did not remember for the ex parte communication.
If you could please explain the hardship, and what we're trying to do here.
Yes, sir. The hardship here comes from primarily from the uniqueness of this property that's been developed as this church for over 100 years. So as you've heard, we're requesting here a variance to reduce the number of on-site parking spaces from 338 to 125. You'll hear from a number of folks tonight who will talk about how with the current existing conditions at the site, there's not any parking issues, and how this proposed new sanctuary will not create any new parking issues, but will improve the church's operations at this property. So I want to focus primarily, as you requested, on the various criteria. So first, there are special conditions and constraints unique to this church and to this property. This church was originally built at this site in 1889, and the current sanctuary was built in the 1930s. This is not a situation of a new church trying to come and locate in an infill location in the city. This church is bisected. The church campus, as you can see up here, is bisected by a number of city streets, which make it difficult, if not impossible, to truly master plan its facilities. However, these same streets provide for well over 200 on-street parking spaces. And while we understand that these spaces cannot be considered as on-site spaces, many of these streets, because they're surrounded on both sides by the church's property, are effectively internal to the church. And particularly on Sunday mornings, when the church is most active, there's little demand for these spaces by any other users within the city. So these are unique circumstances that do not result from the action of the applicant, but rather this unique church campus that I've just described that was established roughly 100 years ago, in which the city has since grown around. So granting this application will not confer any special privilege upon the applicant. Again, this is a unique situation where the applicant owns and has owned for a substantial amount of time, essentially multiple city blocks that have on-street parking directly adjacent to it. In many cases, the applicant owns on both sides of the street, which causes these to be effectively internal roads. Unlike the internal roads in some private developments where they can count on street parking, that's not the case here. So based on all of this, there's few, if any, other properties in the city that are going to have this type of situation, and therefore this won't confer any type of special treatment upon the applicant. Here, a literal enforcement of the terms of the zoning code would work in unnecessary and undue hardship. As discussed, this is a unique situation where there's ample parking available that is almost exclusively used by the church. So we have some photos that we'll hand out with one of our later speakers that'll let you kind of see how this actually operates on a given Sunday. And there's currently not any adverse impacts on adjacent areas. There's not cars overflowing into adjacent neighborhoods even during Christmas and Easter masses, the busiest times of the year, which are good proxies for what this new sanctuary would be like. there's not folks overflowing into other neighborhoods. So this is the minimum variance that will make possible the reasonable use of the parcel of land, building, or structure. When considering all factors, this is the minimum variance requested. That's particularly the case because this new sanctuary will allow for the church, right now they hold 4 masses every Sunday morning, so this will allow for them to cut that down to 2 masses on a Sunday morning. So while, yes, there technically might be more folks at each mass, there's going to be less congestion on the streets. It's going to be for a smaller period of time during each Sunday morning. So this grant of variance is consistent with the comprehensive plan and the zoning code and will not adversely affect adjacent land. As I said, right now, and even during those major services, there's not folks pouring over into adjacent streets. There's not issues with any neighbors. We've heard from nobody who's complained or had an issue with how this currently operates or who's concerned about how it's going to operate. So the purpose of the parking requirements in the code are to provide for adequate parking due to this abundance of on-street parking that is either directly adjacent to or within 300 feet of the property that is addressed here. So finally, I just want to reiterate that this variance is being requested for this existing use. This is not a new use looking to move to the area saying, oh, Jacksonville Beach is going to be a great place to open a church, although it would be. This is a historic church facing an existing hardship of having this chopped up property located within the city that has grown around it. It's been here long before the zoning code, and parking requirements were in place, so they didn't have a chance to plan for these types of things. So this site is unique in that there's an abundance of available parking, unlike some other parts of the city. And the church, as I've described it in this area, in this configuration, is a one-of-a-kind property. So therefore, we request that you approve this variance request. I know there's a bunch of other speakers out here, but I'm happy to take any questions.
I have a quick question for you.
Yes, sir.
Just for clarification, I'm reading your application. It says that you're holding 5 masses on Sunday. So are you still reducing down to 2? Are you going from 5 to 2, 4 to 2?
Yes, sir. There's 5 on a Sunday, so that's 4 in the morning and then 1 in the evening.
And what time do they currently conduct it? What's the schedule currently?
7 a.m., 8:30, 10, 11:30 a.m.
You have to be sworn in, sir.
Oh, that's good. That's fine. So go ahead.
So there's 4 essentially before noon, and then there's 1 in the evening, and the proposed times would be, I believe, 8 and 10.
Let me ask a question.
Yes, sir.
Down the road, how close they are to the end and just getting this for that purpose, as somebody who wishes to swear.
Of course.
Okay. Jim, you have a question?
I have some questions.
Yeah.
I just want to make something straight. Maybe I misunderstood you. You said the code, city code is a hardship?
No, sir. I did not say that the city code is a hardship. This uniqueness of this property and how the church is able to function here, having been located in this area of the city and having acquired multiple city blocks that they've owned for many years, that has created this constrained situation where they're not physically able to provide more parking on site.
How many masses does the church have presently on Sunday?
5 on Sunday.
5 on Sunday. They don't have any anything that goes on during the week then?
They do have masses during the week.
They do have masses.
Yes, sir. But we just primarily focused on Sunday because that's typically the highest business time.
So you feel that giving public parking spaces to the church is okay?
I don't believe this is a situation of giving public parking spaces to the church. It's a situation where they're practically speaking, they're the primary demander of those parking spaces and the primary user of those parking spaces on a weekly basis. And that's not because they're necessarily clogging them up, because as you'll hear, if people can find parking, there is parking available during these services.
Related to his question, do you have an estimate as to how many people attend Mass on a Wednesday as opposed to a Sunday?
I don't personally have that estimate, but the father's here and he'll be able to answer that question.
I have a similar question related to that. You're showing 4,000 registered families. I was just curious how many are attending each mass roughly.
Again, the father can answer that when he speaks, but the current sanctuary has 700 seats, and they estimate they're each of those for Sunday morning masses. They're they're pretty darn full. Maybe in that 600, 650 range.
Just for my references, now, your applications for 125 on site, just want to understand what the 125 on site are they with some gray?
Yes, sir. They're the gray
And you're even
spaces.
splitting off with some part of Fever gray? Is that part of the 125, or you have?
That is, that's pursuant to a long-term lease with Favor Gray, and that is the, if you look at the bottom right-hand corner gray lot, this is the right side of that gray lot is the Favor Gray lot, when that's subject to a long-term lease with Favor Gray.
Could you explain that a little more, please? Because we gave a variance to favor Gray back a couple of years ago with the concessions from the church sharing parking with that.
The agreement, the long-term easement, or the long-term parking easement agreement is within the application materials. I have to double check on the exact term. It continues on for up to a maximum of 30 years.
I believe basically, in order for Favor Gray to get their variance, we needed to have the Catholic Church agree to share some of their parking spaces.
Correct, yes.
Which they did because of the fact that Favor Gray is not going to be using those spaces on a Sunday. But they don't need them during the week.
Right.
So it's a win-win situation at the time.
So, to supplement the missing parking spots from 330 to 125, is that what's highlighted in gray? If I was to add up all the gray and all the black, would that go to 338?
That would actually get you in the 380 range.
380.
Yes, sir.
So, the next question, and it's just one of us, a question, and you may not have the answers, has the church looked into adding parking on the property?
Yes, sir. So again, if you're looking at that gray lot in the bottom right-hand corner, that white sort of L shape to the east of that is a dirt lot now that is actually owned by the church, and they've looked at putting a parking garage onto that or paving that, but that would actually lose parking for them.
And this is, came up years ago on variance, was because we can't recognize it, it's not curved.
It doesn't currently meet zoning code, and if they were to, it's not striped and things like that. So right now, they can park on there actually between 50 and 60 cars, and if they put a parking garage there, they would actually only be able to fit 40 cars in it. Due to height limitations and site constraints and things like that, so.
You can see a parking garage there, but it's not mine.
Or even if they, surface lot where they would again lose spaces.
For the record, that parking lot is currently being used on Sunday masses.
Yes, sir.
And it's maintained for another additional 40, 50 spots approximately.
Yes, sir.
But we can't recognize it because it's not curved and striped.
That's right. Oh, and we have, in as part of the plans for the new sanctuary, the church has obtained had done a landscape plan to help beautify that dirt lot, even though, again, doing some other improvements would actually lose parking spaces. They do want to make it look nicer and have a landscape plan prepared that they plan to implement in coordination with the new sanctuary, the proposed sanctuary.
Questions for this part of the application? I will probably go on back. I guess you'd like to bring up your next, you said you had some other people.
Oh, yes, probably Father Hooley would be the next to go.
I like to get more information. Yeah, do you have anything else? You said you had some other, just people who want to speak? Or
Yes,
any other-
yeah, there's probably.
I have a lot of people speaking. I just want to make sure there's any other information from relevant professionals as yourself or anybody who were.
There's no other
Okay,
individual
no,
agent here, but there's a number of folks from the church that may have sort of the most pertinent
Yes,
detailed
I think it would
information.
probably be great to.
Go to them. Probably the-
Did we ask them not to be redundant?
Your name, please?
Give me your address for record.
Father Michael Hooley. I am the pastor of St. Paul's Catholic Church here in Jacksonville Beach.
Excellent.
Yes. If I could have you raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
And Father, before you start, can we just go through a few questions with you so we can
Sure.
kind of finish up our questions? So, remind us what time the services are currently on Sunday?
There is a 7 a.m., 8:30, 10, 11:30, and 7 p.m.
And how close do they run from the end of one to the start of the other?
There's about a half hour.
Is that much is a half hour, okay.
Yeah,
So, I mean, again, so I assume some people are riding while people are still leaving currently in the situation?
correct.
Okay. Now, in the new church, are you planning, again, you could change it any time of your
We're
decision.
hoping to have, instead of 4 Sunday morning masses, we would have 2.
Okay,
And so there would be, and currently we have no parking problems for all of our masses, and they're all basically full. Our church actually seats only about 650, but I think over the last 40 years or so, people have gravitated to where they know there will be room. And so we're hoping to reduce the number of morning masses to 2 rather than 4.
and they'll be farther apart so that overlapping will be less?
Exactly.
Okay.
Can you give us an estimate of the number of people who attend Mass on Sundays mornings as opposed to Wednesday mornings or Tuesday mornings?
Wednesday, we have a daily mass every day at 8 o'clock and at 5:30. And the morning mass might have 85 to 90 people, and the evening mass might have about 65 or to 70.
On a non-Sunday?
Exactly.
How many other activities take place at the church outside of your masses?
On what days, sir?
Any day of the week?
Well, the school has, sporting activities in the gymnasium and things like that.
And those times take place when?
Those would be in the evenings,
Approximate time frame, 6, 7?
6:30, 7 o'clock in the evening. But I've been there almost 5 years, and I've not detected any, parking issues for that. Even when we have the large attendance at Easter and Christmas, while traffic may be heavy, I've not detected any parking problems.
So it seems to me, sir, that when we're reducing the amount of masses that you have, that you're going to obviously double your parking issues here. Would you be open, if parking ever became an issue, to maybe adding another mass, making it 3 instead of 2? If you saw that there was a parking situation that was developing.
I think we're going to be fine with the 2 Sunday morning masses, because the new church would double the size of occupancy, and I think that we would be okay with that.
Sure, I think you will too. I just want to know that you'd be open to that if parking developed into a problem, that we could go back to a 3rd mass if needed to be.
We would be open to that.
And
I don't think we can tell the church how many masses they
Part of the challenge we have is we also have a mission church west of the Intercoastal Waterway on Irvin Road, St. Peter's, and that area is growing a little bit, but part of our challenge is that we have to staff that church as well. So that's what, the advantage of the new church for us would be.
now on, for example, Christmas and Easter, I mean, I assume you'll be holding services in the new sanctuary and the old sanctuary?
We would have masses in the church and in the gymnasium.
And I assume you would probably put in some kind of operational plan, because that would be much larger than anything you probably ever would feel on a normal service, correct?
Correct.
I can't tell you how to operate, but I hope you have people directing traffic or something.
do.
Support.
We
Okay.
do.
So you operationally do have a supporter rep?
Yes.
Thank you. Any other operational questions for Todd before he speaks? Thank you for the logistics of this.
Oh, you're very
operation.
welcome.
So, please.
Basically, I just want to say that, it's been good being in Jacksonville Beach, and our parish, of course, dates back over 100 years. And it's been a good relationship, both as Jacksonville Beach and our parish has grown harmoniously. We began a capital campaign a few years ago, and our parish parishioners have stepped forward generously so that we can accomplish having this new church. So our situation is a little unique. The diocese usually has parcels of 25 acres in which a parish would be developed and without streets crossing. And so our situation is a little unusual, but I respectfully request that we have approval for the variance request that we have made. Any other questions?
I have just one other question.
Sure.
You're saying the Diocese of St. Augustine is not giving you any money for the church?
I'm sorry?
You're saying the Diocese of St. Augustine is not funding any part of this new church?
No, throughout the diocese, parishes and the parishioners completely fund their own churches. Thank you.
Actually, Father, I've got one more question. Sure. I was involved in the building campaign for our synagogue, and we thought if we build the building, that people will come. And there was some truth to that, but not as much as we hoped for. I'm assuming that your parish, being somewhat landlocked, is not expecting to use the new building as an attraction to gain membership in significant numbers. Am I correct?
I would say so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here we have several cards, if we can answer. Excuse me. We'll be calling every up. If you have other information, but to keep this meeting along, I'd like to hear from everybody who has to speak, and we'll ask you one at a time. Those are the speakers.
I'm going to ask the people who want to speak first. Father Hull has already spoken, unless you want to speak some more. We have a William.
One more, Frank. If I can ask everyone who has to speak, if they can stand for a moment and be sworn in, so we keep things moving along.
Okay, so anybody that's going to speak for this case, you can raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
Thank you all.
We have a card from William McAllis. I think you already spoke. Want to speak some more? Okay, first, Bill Warrison, 1031 First Street South.
Can you name and address for the record, please?
My name is Bill Larson, and this is my wife Joanne. Our address is 1031 First Street South, and condo number 1101, Jacks Beach, 32250.
And one quick question, where are you in reference to the church? How close are you to the facade?
We're about 5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay. And please share your support.
Well, I'm retired from the U.S. Air Force. I was in the Air Force for 21 years. And we chose to live here in Jacks Beach because proximity to Mayport Navy Base and the Mayo Clinic. And we have a lifetime dream of living on the ocean. We joined St. Paul's Church right when we arrived, and we really liked the church and the priests and the people that we meet.
We love the church.
But it has been getting more and more crowded over the 3 years we've been here. So we were very thankful when they had this Legacy of Faith campaign to build a new, larger church, and it was successful. We attend Mass every Sunday and frequently during the week. And we have never really had any parking problems. I mean, like you've heard before, the Mass through different times, people are coming and going. We have never had a problem finding a place to park, or we've never felt any sort of danger in too much traffic around. So we respectfully request that you approve this variance because we think that it'll help St. Paul's to better serve our members and also the other people from Jacks Beach who come to some of the functions over there that are not just for our members. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want to speak, Joanne?
Yes,
Go ahead.
I'm not going to speak more. I just wanted to say that I've been going to that Mass. The Mass is there for 3 years. I have never one time had to look around more than a minute for a place to park. There's always parking, and it's always comfortable, and it's never dangerous, there's never a problem.
Thank you.
Speaker request card from Antoinette Saladino. She's in support of the item. You want to speak?
Good evening. Address for the record.
My name is Antoinette Saladino. I reside at 689 Fifth Avenue North, Jacksonville Beach, Florida. I've been a resident of Jacksonville Beach as well as a parishioner of St. Paul's Catholic Church for over 45 years. I attended St. Paul's Catholic School for 9 years. St. Paul's has played an integral part in my life as it has in this beach community. Through the years, I've seen it grow until it has outgrown the current church. St. Paul's has not only ministered to the thousands who attend and are part of this parish, but has ministered and continues to minister on a constant basis to the many individuals of this beach community who are in need of God's helping hand. This parish is given back to all in need, whether it be financial donations or time spent in volunteer hours. The city of Jacksonville Beach should be proud and grateful to have such an active group of individuals located in the heart of its city. I respectfully request that it be supportive of St. Paul's request for variance parking to facilitate the construction of this new church, which will empower this parish to continue its strong ministerial services to all in need. Thank you.
Next, Karen, C-A-R-O-N.
My name is Karen, and I have lived at 19 College Road, Jacksonville Beach, for 36 years, and I've attended St. Paul's for 49 years. And in all the times I've come to Mass and come to the church events, I've never had a problem with parking either. And when I did come to Jacksonville Beach, we still had a Ferris wheel and go-karts on First Street. And since then, the beach has developed overwhelmingly, and so has our church. And we're way past time to have a new church. And our beautiful new church will be on Beach Boulevard for all the people that come to enjoy the beach to see. And it's in the core of the beach, and it would really enhance the beach. So I respectfully request that you approve this variance.
Wayne R. Carlisle.
Good evening. My name is Wayne Carlisle. I'm the facilities director at St. Paul's Catholic Church and a proud 42-year resident of Jacksonville.
Need your address for the record too? I hear that. Your address.
Oh, my address is 101 Trudy D Lane, Jacks Beach, Florida, 32252.
Thank you. Please continue.
Okay. And like I said, I've been a resident of Jacksonville Beach for 42 years. I went to youth group at St. Paul's, and now I actually have the privilege of working there. It's a wonderful place. We've had some diagrams here that show, in addition to the 125 spaces, there are, the dirt lots on the property obviously cannot be counted. We found that either paving and putting a parking garage on the lot would actually reduce, like William has said earlier, the parking. The church has always been a good neighbor to the city of Jacksonville Beach. Jacksonville Beach puts on many, many festivals and events, and we have always opened up our campus to the parking. We have never charged parking at our campus and in our church lots, just to be a good neighbor of Jacksonville Beach. We are going to be adding new parking spots on the west end of the church, 11 of them. And as you can see, we took these pictures on October 20th at our two busiest masses, which are 8:30 and 10 o'clock in the morning. And as you can see from the different areas, Pablo Avenue, virtually no cars parked there at all. Within a block of the area on the other side, the north side of our school, the north side of our gym, none of those spots are basically used at all during our masses. So I believe, I mean, I've been at St. Paul's for 5 years working there. I don't think, I've never had complaints. I'm around the campus all the time. I've never had people come up to me and tell me that we have a parking issue. We are parking in their neighborhood, disturbing them. And really, all we're really asking for is a 4-hour variance per week. That's the only time it's affecting anybody. It's, I mean, there's no businesses open around us right now. And reducing from 4 to 2 masses is definitely going to be it. You get 600 people trying to get out of a mass, or get into a mass in 30 minutes. It's a little tough. So I respectfully request that you approve this variance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For the information as well.
William Kelly.
Hi, Joe. I don't live in Jacksonville Beach anymore. I live at 3709 San Pablo Road South. But for 37 years, I lived at 224 North 5th Street. And I go back a long time in Jacksonville Beach. I go back to the days when we had the blighted area. None of you remember that, I suppose. I was designated one time as bishop of the blighted area. But it has been wonderful to be here and to see how the place has grown and all the nice buildings, especially this one here. George Ford used to say that I said that you stole the design for this building from St. Paul's. Notice it is very much like the buildings around St. Paul. But we had a wonderful relationship with Jacksonville Beach, and it was mentioned they use the parking lots, for events here. They can use our parking lot. And just to think about, I will finish on this. Somebody brought this up also. Most of the people that are coming to church at St. Paul's come on Sunday mornings. Now, I was there long enough to know that there's never any parking problem on Sunday mornings because there's enough places to park. And during the week, the school is there, but the students don't have cars, so it's only the teachers. So, I mean, you mentioned the fact that, talked about Favorite Grade. I go back to the time when that building was owned by the telephone company, and that was the time, it was before my time, they made the arrangement to share the parking with Favorite Grade. But I really don't think there's any problem in granting this request, and I hope you do. So, thank you all.
Thank you. Steve Price. Yeah. Steve Price.
Oh, John Delaney.
Hi, I'm John Delaney. I live at 110 Bowl Street, Neptune Beach, Florida, and I was the capital campaign co-chair. Father Hooley, when he arrived some years ago, stated that he had a desire to help build a signature building for the beach, and launched the campaign. And in a fairly short period of time, we more than exceeded the first phase, and I think that's because reflection of the parish's commitment to this particular church. I've been coming to this church since I started dating my wife in 1979, and her family's been coming here since the 1930s. I was married there. Our 4 kids and a niece and a nephew that we raised were baptized there. Father Kelly buried my wife's family, her sisters and her folks. Father Kelly and Hooley buried my family. And all this time, I think it's been an important institution for the beach, and particularly unique in terms of the size, the number of blocks that it touches upon. It doesn't really parallel someplace else in any place at the beach. The new sanctuary that's been shown will really have no additional parking burden. The sanctuary, although it's twice as big as the existing sanctuary, it'll have half as many morning masses. And this has been touched on, but I thought I'd try to lock it down just a tad. Let's just illustrate the 10 o'clock morning mass. Father says it gets done in an hour. Occasionally it's a little over an hour, as I'm sure some people will nod their head behind me. By the time you get out of the church, talk to some people, you're slipping to say 11:15. At that point, people coming for the 11:30 are coming. So really what we have on a Sunday, virtually each time between these masses, is you in effect have the same size or the same number of people, although they're coming for two separate masses as opposed to one in the existing sanctuary. The Christmas Mass, as William said, is really a pretty good proxy. The gym that's shown, kind of the upper middle, an overflow Mass is there. So they fill the sanctuary, and then there's another Mass in the gymnasium. Since my family's always late, we're always stuck in the gymnasium, which is also very, very large. So what you have really is another approximation during those religious services that the area can easily absorb the parking. Part of that is, of course, the technicality of what counts, the dirt lots, the grass lots, the surrounding area absorbs those with really no complaint whatsoever from neighbors ever. It's a wonderful institution. I think it's one that we should support as a community, and I urge your support. Finally, I'll close with saying I appreciate the seriousness with which you as volunteers give your job. It's really easy. It's fun to watch as a taxpayer. Appreciate it. Thank you.
As far as I know, there's no other people who want to talk. Correct? Thank you. I'm going to have to go through all these cards, so you know. These are people that don't want to talk, they're for it. Ed, I can't make out his last name. He lives at 1601 Ocean, South, Jackson Beach, Florida. Marlene White, 1601 Ocean Drive South, Jacks Beach. Catherine Joseph, 435 First Street North, Jacks Beach. Goodfella, Michael Goodfella, 1324 14th Avenue North. Sherry Boger, 435 First Avenue North. Beatrice Bacani, 1046 Magnolia Landing Drive, Jacksonville. Daniel Delisaro Jr., 1408 Morris Drive, Neptune Beach. Al Flora, 435 First Avenue North. And he has 1601 Ocean Drive, Jacks Beach. Christine Chapesic, 435 First Avenue North. Teresa Den Moore, 435 First Avenue North, Jacks Beach. Carol McNamara, 435 First Avenue North, Jacks Beach. Paul Walker, 1410 Constellation Place, Jacks Beach. Richard Hagwar, 1411 Constitution Court, Jacksonville Beach. Marilyn Lowell, 435 First Avenue North. A lot of people live at 435 First Avenue North. There's another one, Brian and Aaron Hutchinson, 435 First Avenue North. Seth Meyer, 435 First Avenue North, Jacks Beach. I would hate to see this house. Janet DeBose, 1800 The Greenway, Jacksonville Beach. Benjamin Bacani, 1046 Madeira Landing, Jacksonville Beach. Terry Holtz, 435 4th Avenue North, Jacksonville Beach. Ed Roth, 114 28th Avenue South, Jacks Beach. Fred Cater, 1301A 4th Street South, 4th Street North, Jacksonville Beach. Richard Boger, 435 First Avenue North. Pamela and Joseph Emmels, 435 First Avenue North. Susan Haggerty and Quinn, I believe, 435 First Avenue North. Margaret Caresto, address is 435 4th Avenue North. Larry Smith, 435 Fourth Avenue North, Jacks Beach. Doug Barron, 435 First Avenue North. Teresa Calista, 435 Fourth Avenue North. Renee Babo, 435 Fourth Avenue North. Lista Del Rosario, 5 17th Avenue North, Jacks Beach. Michael Killings, Dale, I believe, 435 First Avenue North. Francis Smith, 435 Fourth Avenue North, Jacks Beach. Walter and Clara Andrew, 435 First Avenue North. Teresa Callan Dale, 435 First Avenue North. Sam Martin, T12 34th Avenue South, Jacks Beach. Terry Calista, 435 First Avenue North. Mike McNamara, 435 First Avenue North. Linda Rowe, 121 Jordan. Rosin Lemire, Jacks Beach, Florida. Nancy McDonald, 1025 22nd Street North, Jacks Beach. Fred DeBassi, 435 First Avenue North, Jacks Beach. Michael Kane, 2953 St. John's Boulevard, Jacks Beach. Mary Dolan, 3429 Silver Palm Road, Jackson Beach. Cynthia Angelino, 435 First Avenue North. Louise Peaks, 435 First Avenue North. Harris Coltier, 922 First Street South, Jacks Beach. Stacy Clovier, 922 First Street South, Jacks Beach. Paul Holton, 435 First Avenue West. Michael Murray, 435 First Avenue West. This is interesting. Oh. St. Paul's Catholic Church. Dave Murray, 435 First Avenue North. Kathleen Nelson, 531 14th Avenue North. Bert Bellman, 1307 Coral Way, Jacksonville Beach. Ryan Kennedy, 435 First Avenue North. Kathy Kearns, 1300 Shutter Drive, Jacks Beach. Paul Cairns, 1300 Shutter Drive, Jacks Beach. I believe that's it.
And also let the record show that Sam Martin from 212 34th Avenue South is in support of the motion as well. Is there anything else you'd like to add that we have not covered? So with that,
I prefer to ask some more questions.
Oh, sorry.
Because we have some people speak.
Yes. Please.
Now, from what I understand, there's 650 seats that typically is full at each mass on Sunday morning.
Yes, sir.
And then dividing that, moving that to two masses, so we're really talking about 1,300 people coming to mass 2 times on Sunday mornings.
That's correct.
So looking at the pictures everybody provided with for the parking, how open it was during the mass times at 8:30 and I think it almost 10:30. How do you perceive that parking situation with the open public parking at that point in time?
Proceeding well. I believe that there's you can see certain areas where there's 0 cars parked, even during the 10 o'clock mass. If you look at the parking pictures in front of Father Murphy Hall there, literally there's not a single car parked in there, which will now be one of the closest lots to the new sanctuary. So I believe that those cars will be absorbed into open parking spaces.
I guess the difficulty I see from that is I can't really tell if the doubling of cars is going to happen. I'm sure there's some people who spoke and be walking to the church, how many more cars would be there? And that's unknown at this point in time, I would take that.
The carpool would be 435.
But I guess as has been said, I don't know that it would necessarily be a full doubling effect due to the comings and goings that have been illustrated by those, the short time periods between masses.
And then I can appreciate everybody coming up and speaking for the church as much as possible. one of my concerns is, after going through this, I really don't see the hardship for the church. You want to build an extra building, but I don't see where the land is causing that based upon that, when you have so much other structures under your building today.
Yes, sir. Well, again, it's the way that this land is divided up makes it so that there's no possible way to add anything anywhere to facilitate any church activity and add parking. And again, it's the way that the code reads is, a hardship about the reasonable use of the property. And I believe that this is a reasonable use of the property, allowing for better congestion and traffic flow in the area, with fewer services, and a more practical use of the property.
Why can't the church tear down the old sanctuary when they build the new one?
Well, the way that the code reads also is the parking is based off of seats within the church, so that's what the parking is based off of. And again, even as we talked about tearing down the church, if you can fit 40 spaces in a parking garage on that L-shaped lot, again, that's not going to create enough spaces in a reasonable and practical way, nor benefit the city of Jacksonville Beach.
Is the church currently conforming to parking requirements?
No, sir, because the church has been there since the 30s.
Correct, I didn't think it was.
So it's legally non-conforming.
Is it fair to say that between the people leaving the 8:30 mass and the ones coming for the 10 o'clock mass, that there's a period of time where almost as many cars are on the campus as will be there when you've got a new building? for more
Yes,
mass?
I would certainly think so. I've driven through here as sort of the masses were changing, and that's how it appeared. And my experience attending church services, there's other types of services. That's, people chat, see friends, do whatever they may between services. Typically get there a little bit early, so there's definitely a period of time where I believe that there is at least close to the same amount of cars there that would be at this new sanctuary.
I've got no more questions.
I'm still having a difficulty understanding the hardship for the land. And as part of our representing of this board, we have to have a hardship for the land.
Yes, sir. The code provision states special conditions and circumstances exist that are peculiar to the parcel of land, building, or structure, which are not applicable to other parcels of land, structures, or buildings in the same zoning district. And our position is that here there's no other properties like this in the city where one entity has owned since predating the zoning code multiple city blocks, but happens to own them in a way that they can't practically, or in some cases even possibly, provide parking to meet the code requirements.
I guess to me, I can't imagine where they've got space to put 213 additional parking spaces to meet the requirement. Is that, I think, does create a hardship.
Is that a question?
No, I was making a statement.
You're making a statement?
My opinion.
Okay.
Can I say one thing real quick? No.
I think it's fine. Thank you. Close the public and give it to the board. And just for record, as in the last meeting prior to the first application, we did confer with our city attorney. Myself being a person does not cause a conflict of interest for me to vote on this. Just right. So, discussion.
I don't see any hardship.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question, just if, setting aside parking, if traffic creates a problem, does it, and I think this church is a good Stewart, situation. If it creates a problem, can the city require assistance for addressing?
Actually, through the review of the development plan application for this building or any other new building, we get from the applicant the average daily traffic generation. And we have gone away from doing a level of service monitoring of all the city streets, and we have a mobility fee program. So regardless of the project, any new net additional trips to be associated with the construction would pay a mobility fee at their building permit level. That's how we handle traffic impacts across the boards.
Should you reference a daily load or you an hourly load?
No, it's average daily traffic. That's how the mobility fee program is set up.
I agree with that statistic. I'm still, this is not a daily, this is an hourly load to me, but if it creates a traffic situation, can it be required or requested to help ease traffic?
Not with the current program. Operationally, if it would behoove them to do it, they would do it, but unless the police were to approach them and say, hey, you need more, or you need additional traffic management, or some type of traffic management situation because of your services, they could request that, but it's not it's not a preemptive requirement until the problem's identified. Yes, sir.
That's what, you answered the question, thank you. That just created that. I'm just trying to understand the parcels and landlocked, see that point.
No, it's not mine, so well put out. They are good stewards of the city, and there's always that option of creating another mass if it becomes a real hardship, a real problem.
Do we see this traffic start parked up closer now to the beach?
Yeah,
I see that one too.
I do too.
I'd like to move to approve 19-100144. Presented and discussed. I think the hardship is the fact that they've got a campus in the center of the city that does not have enough room to expand to create parking spots without substantially making this whole campus an eyesore.
I second.
First and second, further conversation. Roll call, please.
John Moreland,
Yes.
Francis Reddington,
No.
Scott Cummings,
No.
Dan Jansen,
Yes.
and Jeff Truitt.
Yes, motion is passed. Six more cases behind you still to cover. So they answer the conversation outside. Thank you very I thank everyone whose cases are behind us. Unfortunately, I cannot move the order of agenda because this is all business. Otherwise, we'll push you first. I apologize for that delay. Thank you. Then we get started. Okay. Next case, please.
Okay, DOA 100-168, applicant owner Trent Berkeley, agent Swins Johnson.
I don't know, I was.
Property address 609 8th Avenue North, parcel ID 174-477-0000, lot 8, block 97, Florida, Lane Investment Company, and Pablo Beach Improvement Company, Suite Plat, blocks 95, 96, 97, 105, 115, and 125. Current zoning RS2. City of Jacksonville Beach Land Development Code sections 34-337E1C.1, front yard of 6 feet and roof 20 feet, and 34 34-337E1G for an accessory structure setback, concrete paver patio of 2.5 feet in lieu of 5 feet minimum to rectify an existing non-conforming carport and to allow for substantial improvements to an existing single-family dwelling.
Okay, name and address for the record, please.
Frederick Dake, 1334 Pinewood Road, Jacks Beach.
Can I have you raise your right hand, sir? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Mr. Rick, are you the
the
applicant
agent.
or the agent? I just want to try to find it on the record.
I'm the agent slash contractor.
My name, guys. He can speak, right? I just want to see his name. I'm looking for that, Magus.
Actually, the authorization is required if the applicant is not the owner. There's no authorization requirement for an agent.
Just make sure we haven't missed anything. Come back. Okay, thank you. Please say the hardship and what we're doing here.
Mr. Chairman, during the course of review of a building permit, the city actually recognized the encroachment. It is an open carport on a concrete driveway, which was built sometime back in the 70s, as part of the original structure, which was originally built back in the 50s. And anyway, the structure exists as it has for quite some time. We immediately looked at architecture to remove the encroachment. And it turns out that under the zoning district, the city code requires that it have a carport. As you can see on the site, there's no room to put one other than in that location.
So you,
So really, you're asking us to take away a non-conformity.
Well, what I need you to do is recognize an existing historical encroachment so we can get a building permit and finish our construction. And incidentally, the construction is entirely within the existing building footprint.
But you're asking us to basically make this a conforming structure by approving the carport.
The old existing carport, yeah.
And then in the back corner, in that very small area.
Yeah. In addition to that, there is an old concrete paved patio which does encroach into the side yard. And if that's an issue for the board, we can remove that. But it is, and incidentally, the neighbor is present today, and if he needs to, he'll attest to the fact that he has no problem with it.
and just to understand, so you just rehabbing the existing house, or are you going above the carport and taking the carport to the garage, so?
Not the carport, the carport, which is the encroachment, is not even in our scope of construction.
Through the chair, the renovation of the structure constitutes a substantial improvement because it exceeds 50% of the market value of the structure. So therefore, all nonconformities related to the structure need to be relieved before they can do the substantial improvement.
Well, my question was, we're not going above the carport on that.
Not to my
No,
knowledge.
absolutely not.
That's what I wanted to
Yes.
ask. Okay, thank you.
We're not going above the existing roof line of the structure as it exists today.
No questions? And I'm sorry, you say your neighbor is supposed to speak?
Right, the one that shares the common property line with the patio?
Did you spill a card out by chance?
I'm sorry.
Did you spill a card out by chance?
No,
It's okay if you would like to come up on the record, if you're in favor. I have no problem with the card. Jesus. Give your name and address for the record, please.
Michael Lichtenfeld, 611 8th Avenue North, Jacks Beach.
And you are how connected to where you to this property?
I live right next door. To
Okay.
Left of it if you're facing the house.
Any concerns or objections to this?
No, I think the carport.
I'm sorry, I'm going to need to swear you in. I need you to raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Sorry. Could you please repeat?
I have no problem with it. I think the carport adds something to it that's been there. I've lived there 12 years, and that was there when I moved in.
Thank you. Which side of the residence do you live on?
I'm to the west of it.
You're the west. Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other speaker cards on this? Okay. Close the public and bring it to the board.
I think this is a very reasonable request. I move we approve 19-100168 as presented and discussed.
First and second.
I'll second it.
Further discussion? Anybody have issues with favors or anything like that? Okay. Glad you asked the neighbor here. Neighbor, roll call, please.
Francis Reddington,
Yes.
Scott Cummings,
Yes.
John Moreland,
Yes.
Dan Jansen,
Yes.
Jeff Truitt.
Yes. Variance been approved.
Thank you, Jeff.
And next case, please.
Case number BOA 19-100172, applicant owner Christy Burton, property address 843 13th Avenue South, parcel ID 176-796-0030, lot 10, block 129, Ocean Park, current zoning RS2, City of Jacksonville Beach Land Development Code sections 34-337E1E for 40% lot coverage, in lieu of 35% maximum to allow for a pool and paver addition to an existing single-family dwelling.
Your name and address, please.
Christy Burton, 843 13th Avenue South, Jacksonville Beach, Florida, 32250.
Can I have you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And you,
I do.
perfect. If you please explain the hardship and what we're doing here.
Yes, we were trying to put a pool into the backyard. We removed everything we could possibly remove, and we're still 0.5% over the lot coverage requirements.
And just to help, what we're, I think as the board would probably recognize, we see the hardship as the lot being undersized. Is that correct?
That's what I said.
Yeah, the existing structure is larger than I could
Well,
ever
your
do.
lot size is
Right.
undersized, so that's what we identified the hardship
Okay.
as we first want to classify. So you're 50 by 125. Okay.
As I walked in tonight, Dan said to me, we have the proportionalities, because of the standard size lot, it would be a 33.3% lot coverage.
John?
I didn't even get that calculator from his.
He's got his head. Any other, any questions for the applicant from us? Thank you. Do we have the speaker cards, Mr. Craig? So I close the public and bring it to the board. Pretty comfortable with the recalculations. I recognize the hardship.
Absolutely.
We have a motion.
I move we approve 19-100172. It has a hardship of being a substandard lot.
I second.
First and second. Further discussion? Hearing none, have a roll call, please.
Francis Reddington,
Yes.
Scott Cummings,
Yes.
John Moreland,
Yes.
Dan Jansen,
Yes.
Jeff Truitt.
Yes. Your motion's been approved. And the next case, please.
Case number DOA 19-100173. Applicant owners Donald and Cynthia James. Property address 3900 Grande Boulevard. Parcel ID 181400-0310. Legal description lot 4 together with easement. 1/2 of alley closed by ordinance number 7316, lot 16, Ocean Terrace. Current zoning is RS1. City of Jacksonville Beach Land Development Code sections 34-336E1E for 46.3 lot coverage in lieu of 35 maximum to allow for a pool and paver addition to an existing single-family dwelling.
Give your name and address for record, please.
Cynthia James, 3900 Grande Boulevard, Jacksonville Beach, 32250.
If I could have you raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
If you please explain to us the hardship and what we're doing.
The lot size is the hardship. I believe the area is zoned for 10,000 square foot lots and mine's 7,000. The second one, I'm not sure whether it's really considered a hardship or not, but the prior owner's negligence
they had added some of the property, I'm the second owner of the home. When it was originally built, it was right at 35% lot coverage. Without permitting, they went in and added flagstone to the left side of the home. Also flagstone to the right side of the home near the outside shower. They put in the pavers in the driveway and a walkway. What I've done, and I didn't realize that until I went to submit the permit initially, and we were way, way over. So we removed all of the flagstone. I think we removed a little over 300 square feet, or what I consider to be reasonable removal. We didn't do anything with the driveway, but we did take all the flagstone out.
Does this survey reflect that adjustment? Do you know?
I had to get it resurveyed.
So this doesn't show the flagstone that's been removed now.
So I assume this 46.3 is based on this survey.
That's correct. That's the latest survey after the flagstone was removed. I did submit a copy of it prior to removal. I don't know if that was included in the packet.
Yeah, I got a copy of that.
Yeah. And Mr. Jansen so kindly showed it to me.
You said the driveway is still existing as it was.
As the driveway and the sidewalk leading to the front door.
So the decking around the pool is approximately, I'm trying to represent that. Let's see, be much, 3 feet?
I went through John's calculator.
Absolutely.
If it was a standard sized lot, the lot coverage in her proposal would be 32.4%, significantly below 35%.
Because it is a small lot.
Yeah.
And she showed due diligence.
Yeah.
Appreciate flagstone.
Good point.
Yeah. The question is, 46.3 represents a flagstone. We leave it.
46.3 is after the flagstone.
So that is what the city calculated, 46.3 at flagstone?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, we were with the flagstone 50+%.
Oh, okay, you were that far over.
Yes, yeah.
You said you didn't have to come to board that, I know. Somebody pressure.
We respect your astuteness.
Yes, excellent. Any other questions for the applicant? Seeing none, I have no speaker cards, close to the public and bring it to the board, thank you.
It's clearly a substandard lot. I move we approve 19-100173 as presented and discussed.
Second.
First and second, any further discussion? Have a roll call, please.
Scott Cummings,
Yes.
John Moreland,
Yes.
Francis Reddington,
Yes.
Dan Jansen,
Yes.
Jeff Truebar.
Yes, your motion to agree. Thank you. Next case, please.
Applicant owner, Soul Air Homes Incorporated, agent, Paul Everett and Susan Crowder, property address 1326 6th Avenue South, parcel ID 176-837-0000. Legal description, the south 61 feet of lot 12, block 137, Ocean Park, current zoning RS2. Motion to consider Jacksonville Beach Land Development Code sections 34-337E, 1C.1 for a front yards of 10 feet in lieu of 20 feet required, 34-337E1C.2 for a 7.5 feet corner side yard setback in lieu of 10 required minimum, 34-337E1C.3 for a 15 feet rear setback and move 30 feet required, and 34-337E1E for 44.8% lot coverage, move 35% maximum to allow for the construction of a new single-family dwelling.
Name and address, please.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. My name is Oliver Crow. I live at 226 Hallwood Road in Jacksonville Beach. I've been a resident here for about 25 years too in Jacksonville Beach.
Excuse me, sir, I'll need to swear you in first. If I can have you raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
And for the record, you read 6 Avenue North, it's actually 6th Street North, or South rather, street instead of avenue.
Excuse me. Okay. Please explain the hardship here.
So the hardship is that it's a substandard lot. The lot size for RS2, I believe, is 7,500 square feet. Sounds like somebody said 10,000 at one point in time, but.
Scott, can you pull the microphone a little closer to the record? Thank you.
So it's a substandard lot. I believe that the zoning for the RS2 is 7,500 square feet. I have 3,050, which is about 41% of the standard lot. And really, to me, like that's one part, and then there's a second tier to the hardship, and that is the depth of the lot. I have 61 foot in depth, the way that I'm positioning the house. And if you look from, let's say, 10th Ave south to 16th Ave south, every single one of those lots is about 125 feet deep. So I'm dealing with less than half the depth as far as part of the hardship as well. And I think those are the factors in requesting the front and rear setbacks, and also the factor in the increased lot coverage.
How large is the house you're building approximately?
I submitted a little handout, which is one thing. One page was the person who spoke in favor of it, which is the neighbor catty corner across the street, and the other photo I did was a little rendering, and it has on there is 1845 or maybe so square feet. It's a 2-story, 3-bedroom, 2-bath.
So that's my question. You're saying 2-story, not going 3, same with the neighborhood.
3-story, and on the little drawing is with the roof and all, it's 25 and a bit for height, maximum height.
Right, it's
2-car garage.
Two-car garage, and also on the site plan that you should have from the proposed structure on the survey, I turned it so it's fronting onto 14th, and with the front setback at 10 foot, I still have an additional, past the lot line, an additional 28 feet, so I have 38 feet of driveway that's a 2-car wide, which will accommodate 4 cars plus the garage, so I really try to accommodate the parking issue, the potential parking issue. There's really hardly any parking right now, the way it sits, and even the way the house sits right now, on the so if you look at the survey that was part of the package on the which is the north side of the lot, which would be the backyard, where I'm asking for 15 feet. The structure that sits there right now is it's approximately 6 feet from the property line right now. And where on the south side, the structure that sits there now is right about the same, that 10 foot from the property line on the south side. And on the east side, where I'd be asking for the 7.5, the structure sits with the front part about 3.5 feet from that property line there. So I'm going to actually squish it down where it's more conforming and than it currently is. And I also believe the lot coverage at 44 is less because the existing one is about 45% of lot coverage is what it is right now.
Thank you.
Questions?
Can I ask a question? Do you have any intentions of putting a swimming pool in?
I'll stop the roof.
I certainly do not, but down the road 2 years, there's,
I'm just saying with the lot coverage it is, it's gonna be hard to get a pool and a patio in there.
Yeah. So I think that's something I would have to make somebody aware of when I go to sell the house, is that, I've had a variance in place here to do that house, and so if you're trying to build a pool, you're gonna have a rough road ahead of you.
Yeah, I said about a month ago, when we looked at a property that was on First Street South, that I thought it might be the smallest lot in the city. You run a close second.
I was just thinking the same thing.
You forget about the one over on Horn Street.
Yeah, that was
25 foot width.
Yeah.
That's true.
Any questions for the applicant?
No, this structure is very reasonable.
I find it very reasonable too.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kraft. Close the public, bring it to the board.
This is reasonable, and he's actually taking it out from there. And double car garage, that's good.
And this was so obviously substandard that I didn't bother to do the percentage lot coverage, but it would probably work out for a standard lot at about 21, 22% lot coverage, I guess.
Have a motion?
Okay, someone ask you a question?
Any more question?
Well, I was opposed.
Did we miss it? Did I miss it?
Yes.
74? Oh, I missed it. I'm sorry.
Mr. Ricardo?
Let's bring it back up to public. Did I see that?
Did you fill out a card,
Did
Dan?
you fill out the card? Well, my apologies, I missed it.
What's your name?
Joanne Mattingly.
Okay, yes, I was gonna be jumping.
Go on, second.
We have a speaker card from Joanne Mattingly.
Can you repeat that, Bob?
State your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Joanne Mattingly, and I live at 670 14th Avenue South.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Please express, share your thoughts.
I live in the middle of 14th Avenue South, just a few houses away from where he's proposing to build this new structure. I bought a house 14 years ago. It's a one-story home. All of the homes on our block are one-story, except for the house across from me, which I was remiss in not ever coming to these meetings before, because I live across the street from a 3-story home with a patio on top of it. It's an eyesore to the neighborhood. And I'm just opposed to any other structures going in on our block. They're all single-story homes except for the one across the street. I did canvassing in our neighborhood for, not for any of this zoning or anything, but for something else. And every house that I went to, when I told them my address, they said, you live across from the monstrosity. It's an eyesore. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful home. I love the people that built the home. It's just not appropriate for the neighborhood, and so I'm opposed to other homes being built that exceed the lot size.
Is your concern also because it's a 3-story as well, currently?
Now,
this is a 2-story, this one, we know that.
It is.
Yes, I mean, I'm just...
That's my concern, is a 2-story home being built with other 1-story homes.
Okay.
That's my concern.
Well, would it be more concerning if it was 3-story than 2-story?
It would be much more.
Okay.
But I'm just opposed to people overextending on their lots.
Thank you. And again, please, I apologize for missing your comments.
Thank you.
Mr. Pratt, would you like to read this? Make it better.
We have a person that's for it, and it's Bill Cook at 586 14th Avenue South.
Mr. Pratt, would you like to respond to that? Or who's in? No, Mr. Pratt. Okay. Let the further close the public and bring it back to the board. Okay.
I think it's clearly a substandard lot, and unfortunately, the fact that it's single-story homes is not something that we have any control over, and they're legally required to build a 3-story, no matter how much monstrosity it looks.
I'd be more concerned if it was 3-story and tighter.
So the fact that it's 2-story, I think is a lucky break.
For having such a small lot.
Yeah, for such a small lot.
Through the chair, there is also a minimum unit size in RS2 zoning districts of a 1,400 square foot house.
So I move we approve 19-100174 as presented and discussed.
I second.
First and second. Further discussion? As we said, we can't deny building rights. The titles are built on the property. he's bringing down from the current lot size. So, roll vote, please.
John Moore,
Yes.
Francis Reddington,
Yes.
Scott Cummings,
Yes.
Dan Jansen,
Yes.
Jeff Trular.
Yes. Next case, please.
DOA 19-10000175, applicant owner Patricia and Gary German, agent Jim Welch, Coastal Luxury Outdoors, property address 602 13th Avenue South, parcel ID 1768255-0000, legal description lot 1, block 137, Ocean Park, current zoning RS2. Motion to consider City of Jacksonville Beach Land Development Code Sections 34-337E1E, 40.5% lot coverage, remove 35% maximum to allow for coping only pool addition to an existing single-family dwelling.
Give your name and address for record, please.
Sure, Jim Welch, 4300 South Beach Parkway, Unit 3325 in Jacksonville Beach.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
So this is an conforming lot. It's an undersized lot. It was non-conforming when the current owners bought it in 1991, and when they added the second owner in 2003. We are looking for a pool only, with coping only, so it doesn't increase the lot coverage except for the depth. The lot did have a shed that was built on it. When we went out to look at this property, we told the owner that the shed had to come down, and that has been taken down, and we will remove the concrete slab when we are there doing work.
So the survey shows that currently is 40.5% coverage. The pool shows no increase, which is not conforming we're trying to pass. Is that
And
correct?
coping.
Coping, yeah. I was just trying to figure out, I thought it looked like the pool deck grew, but I don't think it did.
No.
No, it didn't.
Okay.
If this was a standard size lot, it would be 33.75% lot coverage.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Have you trademarked that yet?
Any other questions for the applicant?
I'm fine with everything.
Thank you. Close the public and bring it to the board.
I think there's no question about this. I move that we approve BOA 19-10000175 as written as read.
Second.
I have to comment that I appreciate the builder to make the comments to the owner to remove lot coverage for submittal. So I think it's for discussion, so roll vote, please.
Francis Reddington?
Yes.
Scott Cummings?
Yes.
John Moreland?
Yes.
Dan Jansen?
Yes.
Jeff Trular.
Yes, the variance has been approved. And the next case, please.
Case number BOA 19-100176, Wayne McCoy. Owner, Pendulum Properties LLC. Property address 1103 15th Avenue North. Parcel ID 175-361-0000. Legal description, Lot 7, Block 13, Beach Home Sites, Unit 3. Current zoning RS1. City of Jacksonville Beach Land Development Code Sections 34-336E1E for 43% lot coverage and live 35 maximum, and 34-373D for parking area setback of 0.5 feet in lieu of 5 feet minimum to allow an existing driveway expansion to remain an existing single-family dwelling.
Give your name, address for the record, please.
It's Wayne McCoy, I'm the property owner. You want my physical address or the property address?
Your address.
220th Avenue South, Jacksonville Beach.
If I could have you raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Please explain the hardship.
So if you're aware, 15th Avenue North is, I guess it's a thoroughfare, or whatever they call that, but traffic is difficult on that road. And so I called a hardship parking. And so when I originally got this property, it had just the existing concrete driveway. And we're looking to get granted a variance to add an existing parking on the left. And I've worked with Public Works to get off-street parking approved in the front where the pavers are drawn.
So you're also adding those pavers, not just the off in public right away, but that other area, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, just identifying, we do have a hardship for lot size, is that correct?
It does seem like an undersized lot.
Yeah, you're an undersized lot, which is identifying the hardship, so.
Okay.
Now, have you spoken to your neighbors with the half foot? I mean, that concerns me a bit, being that close to the
Yeah,
driveway.
actually, he's right here.
Okay. All right, we'll get to that, okay. So is there any reason why you had to go that close to that, and you couldn't go the other way? Instead of being that close to a property line?
Well, to be quite honest, I drew this up on my existing permit with the lot plan and everything, and the permit got approved. I wasn't aware that it needed a variance until the inspector came out there to inspect my plumbing and other stuff, and I went and walked the property with him.
Okay.
And then he notified me that after we already poured the concrete.
That concrete poured?
Concrete's poured.
Oh.
So, and we didn't pour it right there, and the thing it shows, I asked for half a foot off, and then in there it shows 8 inches off the property line, and I think we're more like about 12 inches off, so we're about a foot off the property line.
So this is existing as we speak.
It's existing, because again, I thought the permit was granted and was not aware that we got to do this inspector came out.
So when you had a permit and they came out and then they said, oh, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you come before us before with this? This looks very familiar.
Not with this, I've been in front of you before for my existing property down 27 South, but not for this one now.
Through the chair, can I ask the applicant for one point of clarification? You represent yourself as the owner, but the application lists the landowner as Pendulum Properties. Are you one and the same?
Yeah, I'm the owner.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Just for clarification, thank you.
Yeah. And so, I mean, the major goal with this was to get the cars off the street. I mean, we weren't really
Yeah,
trying to do anything else, just trying
I
to get
understand. It seemed like it go more to the.
And having sat in front of your property as cars were coming by about 5 o'clock, 5:15 yesterday afternoon,
You see?
getting cars off the street would be a good thing.
Yeah, because there's already cars that park out across the street on the road, so I didn't want to battle with that. And, you know, looking at the neighboring properties, I think two to the west, they have a very similar type driveway, and then it goes all the way to the property line as well. And then they have pavers up on the public right of way, and then even over to the right-hand side, they have a little paver sidewalk. And then the neighbor to the right has one that's coming up on the property line.
I've got no more questions.
Any other questions? This one. Jeff, see, we have some.
Angus Stevens?
Stevens.
Can you name that, Mr. Stevens, for the record?
Thank you, and good evening. It's Angus Stevens at 1044 15th Avenue North, Jacks Beach.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you live on the side where the driveway's been poured to that? Is that your?
No, sir, actually, I live across the street.
Across the street.
And really just wanted the opportunity to step up and say in agreement, if you were on our street last night, folks come through there at 45, 55 miles an hour at different times of the day. The traffic is bad. I'm currently under construction, so with a pod in my driveway, I'm one of the people having to park in the street, as are my neighbors. And the relief to be able to get some vehicles off of the road would be good for our neighborhood based upon the speed at which our roads travel.
Unfortunately, I didn't see anybody going 50, but I could believe it.
But that's all I had. I did want to just, speak in favor of that and, thank the board for your time.
Thank you.
One more question for Mr. Corbett.
Sir.
When you applied for the permit, did you give him a drawing of what you were doing?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm sorry, has any conversation happened with the neighbor to where the driveway is? Any?
No, but he's here
I
now.
didn't-
Oh, you are?
I
You
don't
know the
know.
neighbor who was there, sir?
Yeah, he didn't have any.
If you can come, please say name and address for the record, so we have it on, if you don't mind.
My name's Chris Wilk. I own the house just west of this house here. And
Sir, could you state your address for the record?
11, okay, my address or this address? My home address?
Yes.
1707 Sunset Drive, that's Jacks Beach, 32250.
What's the address?
Through the chair, what's the address of the property that you own next door?
1115 15th Avenue North.
Thank you.
So you are on, again, my question is on which side of that?
I'm on the west side.
You're on the left side, so you're on the property
Yeah, the property.
with the variance request for a half a foot.
Yeah, I was wondering, the 5 feet, there's a parking area setback of half a feet in lieu of 5 feet.
Correct.
So the law is, or the code is 5 feet, is that what the code is?
Yes.
Is that 5 feet, is that on his property, is it?
From the property line.
5 foot is the property line?
That's the dimensional setback that the edge of the driveway per code has to be from the property line that you share with your neighbor, that your lot shares with his lot. He's asking for it to be a half a foot instead of 5 feet off that line.
But it's still his property, is that?
Oh, yes, sir.
Yes.
It doesn't encroach onto your
Yes.
property at all. He still stays, in this case, at least a half a foot off the property line,
Okay.
if it's approved.
I think I'd be okay with that. My mother-in-law, my wife used to live there in the 60s, and they had a privacy fence put up there because of the noise factor. But they seem to be some pretty nice people, so. I guess it's okay.
This is your opportunity, if you have a concern about it, that's what we want to hear, being that close to your property line.
Yeah, I was concerned too with 15th Avenue North. The traffic went over, it was terrible. And I think back in the 60s, the city said they were going to put a sidewalk down there, but they never did. And then there was recently, I guess in the last year or so, I saw some survey flags, and I was under the impression that they were also going to put up a sidewalk, so, for children. And there's a lot of people that go up and down that road. It's really bad. I don't know if you guys are aware of how bad 15th Avenue is. It's probably, it's busy, it's probably the third or fourth busiest road at the beach on Jacksonville Beach, behind 3rd Street and Penman Road. So I was really more concerned with I thought what this was about was the pavers on 15th Avenue North. I didn't notice the actual property line from go on the left side of this picture here.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
So I have another, so I close the public hearing to the board?
Mr. Question for Mr. Mayor. So when someone applies, being the new kid on the block, give a little education, if someone applies for a permit and they provide a drawing, is information given to them on variances?
Yes, sir, and I'm not aware of that situation that the applicant describes. I'm not discounting it at all, but I wasn't aware of that. If I had known about it, I would have reported it to y'all. But I don't know if it's because the work was done before the permit was approved, or if it was missed in the review of the permit. I can't speak to that. I can try to follow up for y'all for the next meeting if you'd like to know. If you call me at work, I can, during the workday when the permit system's up, I can check for you.
Just trying to educate
No, I
myself on,
understand. I understand.
how that process works.
We try to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I can appreciate the parking, but I do have concern about half a foot.
Yes.
As we see, not enough room to work across.
But if it's our error versus their
to remove the 8 foot wall.
Well, we got a permit. The other side, the other thing on the permit that he was doing was he applied for it after the fact. The question is, then why did he apply for it after the fact?
I don't know.
I'm just asking,
Yeah, I think
just giving opinions like John has.
Yeah, I think the half foot for the accessory structure of the driveway expansion is close, but it's actually not inconsistent with what we've done multiple times, particularly with some of the duplexes that have been built in the multifamily homes. And the owner of the house next to him says that that's not a big house.
I'm glad he's here.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I would
Yeah.
concern.
I go with, and tie those to the runner when I'm not sure who's.
Yeah.
It's really a substandard lot, and
Clearly, it's yes.
parking is more of an issue, I think, on that street in that particular location, and in a lot of other properties that we look at.
Got a motion on the floor?
I move we approve 19-100176 as presented and discussed.
I'll second.
Have a first and a second. Further discussion? May I have a roll vote, please?
Francis Reddington,
No.
Scott Cummings,
Yes.
John Moreland,
Yes.
Dan Jansen,
Yes.
Jeff Truitt.
No. Your motion has passed.
Before we adjourn, since we've got you here, Mr. Mann, we have people swear an oath after they have given their name and address. There's nothing to suggest that they're required to be honest in giving their name and address. And it seems to me that we give credibility to testimony the closer they live to the property. So if someone lies before they're sworn in, we've got no recourse.
I believe it would be appropriate to swear them before they identify their name and address. And if you want to reiterate it before and reiterate it after, that's fine, but you bring up a good point.
There'd be no need to reiterate, like you said, you can always just swear them in and then state it, and that would solve your problem. Also, if you wanted to say some comments, I noted earlier tonight, I thought I would share this tidbit with you. You don't technically have to read in every single person who filled out a card who didn't want to speak. You could give a number to say we have a certain number and they're a matter of public record. And
They'll be entering the public record their name and address.
Right,
That's
you
a
can
problem.
put it in the public record, but
Okay.
I don't know, we don't have stuff like that all the time, but if you have 30 or plus cards, you can say, I've got 30 cards in favor that don't wish to speak, it'll be a matter of public record. If somebody wants to get it, they can ask for it.
And while we have in front of us, and I appreciate every time one asks questions, Mr. Mann reflected on a comment that was shared on that one application where it was a 3 foot and we were concerned about going forward. This is the question I think I've asked. When we're approving a non-conforming and going forward, how do we stop that from carrying if the building was to be torn down? Or can we stop that from carrying forward if the building was, for example, torn down?
You did it appropriately, and I get what you were trying to do. I want to be careful that we don't put too much on the record such that if there is a hurricane, that they can't rebuild in the footprint. So your condition was correctly stated, and that you made it for this existing use and the 2 additional units. And that's a good condition. You want to make sure they can rebuild in a disaster within their footprint. So to go any further might lend to some language where somebody could fight that. So it was beautifully said and appropriately said. That condition is for the existing use and the proposed use.
So if someone's to come and buy it and just trying to reuse those setbacks, they could not, it's a different use.
Yeah, if you want to make it airtight, or they can rebuild, within their building footprint in a disaster, but you don't have to. That's implicit.
It's existing, okay. Thank you for that clarification. You sleep better at night now.
I'm going to be, I've been authorized to continue to work with your board. Mr. Ambrosio, of course, is your city attorney, but I'm going to continue to work with the planning board and you. I'm going to be offering some training, so I'll be trying to set that up. I know we talked about it. We may wait for your new alternate, but I'd like to start one-on-ones so that you have an opportunity to sit with me and ask any question you want to, not in a public hearing set point, and we can go one-on-one over lots of things, and then we could do one large public hearing if that's something you feel would be beneficial. But I'm going to make that available to you, and I am working on some examples, and I think I got some juicy examples from tonight's agenda. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Jackie, thank you.
Hold on, wait.
Any other? Next meeting is.
Thank you. Something else.
Sorry.
Have we done anything to get another member of the board?
Yes, sir, we conducted interviews for several board vacancies last week?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it was last week, so yes, sir. So that should be coming to city council, not just for this board, but for the other boards before their term expires at the end of this year, calendar year, and also we'll be getting this board reappointed as soon as possible.
And well,
One more question, sorry. There's two people whose terms up in December. They've been contacted about being interviewed, and they're not available on the dates. Why can't the city make them, make it available, but they're working, they can't, they can't.
We have a representative from the city clerk's office. She will pass along that concern to the city clerk.
You agree?
Yes, sir. No, I don't disagree. I mean, if we've got people on boards that are willing to reserve and they need to be re-interviewed. No, but you do understand the desire to re-interview active members because some of the new council people were not on board when you were appointed and they don't know who you are. So
well,
it's
I would share the fact that I think they're welcome to come attend our meetings. I'm just going to share it on record for that. I mean,
Second.
let the tape show. But, and then the second question I had is, I saw, is that a new board of appeals coming up?
yes, sir.
So they're going to appeal ours?
No, it's actually Denise could probably speak to that.
Okay, I'm just curious what it was. It's,
That Board of Appeals is not what you do. It is
I
actually
know.
very specific to fire code and building official decisions. And it's required under the law, actually, for the fire marshal and the building official. Most of the time they agree. Sometimes there's a conflict between the two, and the decisions can be appealed to that board. The reason it came up and the reason I helped institute it again is because of our alcohol permits, actually. And there was a particular case in which a fire marshal gave his opinion, and we didn't have an appeals board in place for them to be able to go and appeal that decision. And it's just for those purposes, not likely to meet, only when required.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And so
It
we
wasn't
have,
lynches, was it?
It was not. It was not. I'll say no names.
so our next meeting is November 19th. Do we have any conflicts in our schedule? Seeing we're still slightly.
I'll be here, unless I'm
My
sick.
schedule right now. I will not be here. So, okay.
Say November 19th.
I have a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
It's November 19th.
Finally got it right. I only have 2 meetings left. I got it right.
Thanks, guys.